somewhere off the coast of what we now call North Carolina, there is a narrow strip of land that sits between the Atlantic Ocean and a quiet inland sound. Before we go any further into this story, if you want a brand new American mystery every single night, subscribe. One tap and a new story is waiting for you every evening. The island is called Roanoke. It is low and flat, covered in scrub oak and pine, and the air there smells of salt and dark water. On a calm day, the light comes off the sound in long silver sheets. On a stormy day, the sky turns the color of a bruise, and the wind bends the trees sideways like they're bowing to something. It is a beautiful place. It is also a place where something impossible happened. In the summer of 1590, a man named John White stepped off a ship and onto that island. He had been gone for 3 years. He was coming back to find his family. His daughter was there. His granddaughter was there. 115 people were there, people he knew by name, people he had promised to return to. He had left them with food, with tools, with hope. When he arrived, the settlement was empty. Not burned, not destroyed, not scattered with signs of a fight, just empty. The houses were standing. The palisade fence was still up. The grass had grown tall inside the walls, and the silence was thick as wool. No bodies, no blood, no note, no explanation. Just one word, carved into a wooden post at the entrance to the fort. Croatoan. That word has haunted this country for over 400 years. Scholars have studied it. Archaeologists have dug for it. Native families have carried stories about it in their blood. And still, after all that time, no one can say with certainty what happened to those 115 people. They walked off the edge of the known world and never came back. This is the story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke. It is one of the oldest unsolved mysteries in American history. Some people say the colonists were killed. Some say they were taken in by the local tribes and lived out their lives in the Carolina woods. Some say they split apart, went different directions, and left pieces of themselves scattered across the land like seeds. There are theories built on carved stones, on old maps, on DNA tests, on the stories that native families have been telling for generations. none of those theories has closed the case. And that is what makes this story so strange and so enduring. It is not a mystery that fades with time. It gets richer. Every decade, someone finds something new. A patch on an old map, a ring pulled from the dirt, a family name that shouldn't exist where it does. The mystery keeps giving. But before any of that, you have to understand what it felt like to stand on that island in 1590. Imagine the sound of your own boots in the grass, the creak of the palisade gates swinging open, the smell of old wood and pine resin, and the faint ghost of a cook fire long since cold. You call out. Your voice goes nowhere. The trees absorb it. The water absorbs it. The sky is wide and pale and indifferent. You walk through the empty settlement. You check every house. You look for any sign of the people you love. And all you find is that word, carved deep into the wood, the letters clean and deliberate, like someone took their time, like someone wanted to make sure it would last. Croatoan. John White knew that word. It was the name of a nearby island and the name of the people who lived there. Before he left, he and the colonists had made a plan. If they had to move, they would carve the name of their destination. If they were in danger, they would add a cross above it. There was no cross, so maybe that was good news. Maybe they had simply gone south to the Croatoan people to safety. White tried to sail there. The weather turned. The ships were damaged. He never made it to Croatoan Island. He sailed back to England. He never returned to America. He never found out what happened to his daughter, or his granddaughter, or any of the rest of them. He spent the rest of his life not knowing. And in a way, so have we. Close your eyes for a moment and go back. Not to last year, not to your grandparents' time. Go back 400 years and change. Go back to a world where the ocean had no bottom, where sea monsters were drawn on maps because nobody knew what else to put there, where the edge of the known world was a real thing you could fall off of. This is England, late 1500s. The year is somewhere around 1584. The streets of London smell like smoke and river, mud, and horse. The buildings lean toward each other overhead, their dark timber frames pressing close, blocking out the sky. Candles are expensive. Most people work by daylight and sleep when the sun goes down. There is no glass in most windows. There is no running water. There is no such thing as a map you can trust. The people wear wool. Heavy, scratchy, damp wool. Even in summer, it holds the cold of the morning. Men wear it. Women wear it. Children wear it. The rich wear silk on top of the wool, but underneath, everyone is the same. Everyone is cold and a little bit wet and working very hard just to stay alive. England in the 1580s was a country that felt too small for itself. The population was growing. The farmland was shrinking. The old feudal system that had kept everyone in their place for centuries was cracking apart. Poor men flooded into cities looking for work. Rich men looked at their estates and worried. The wool trade was slowing down. The harvests were bad some years. There was a restlessness in the air, like a fire looking for something new to burn. And then there was Spain. Spain had been in the Americas for nearly 100 years by then. Spanish ships came home heavy with silver and gold, with spices and dyes, and things England had never seen. The Spanish crown was getting rich in a way that made English kings and queens feel the gap between them like a cold wind. England wanted what Spain had. England needed it. Queen Elizabeth I sat on the throne. She was sharp and careful, and she understood power the way a chess player understands the board. She knew England couldn't just sail to the Americas and take what Spain had already claimed. That would mean war, and England wasn't ready for open war. Not yet. So she did something smarter. She gave private men the right to try. These were called patents. A patent was a piece of paper from the Queen that said, in effect, go find something and it's yours. Plant a colony. Build a settlement. Make England a foothold in the New World. If you succeed, you get land and money and glory. If you fail, well, that's your problem. The Queen keeps her hands clean either way. This is how Sir Walter Raleigh enters the story. Raleigh was the kind of man who took up all the air in a room. Tall, polished, confident in a way that could tip into arrogance if you weren't watching. He was a favorite of Queen Elizabeth, which meant he had access and influence. and the kind of social warmth that opens doors. He was also genuinely brilliant, genuinely ambitious, and genuinely convinced that England's future was somewhere across the Atlantic. In 1584, Elizabeth granted Raleigh a patent to explore and settle the eastern coast of North America. The land didn't have a name yet, not an English one. Raleigh would call it Virginia in honor of Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen. It was a flattery that cost him nothing and meant everything. 2 ships went out that first year, just to look, just to see what was there. They came back with good news, and 2 young men from the local tribes, men named Manteo and Wanchese, who would become translators and go-betweens in the strange years ahead. The explorers reported rich soil, calm waters, friendly people, and a land that seemed to offer everything England needed. They were not entirely wrong. They were also not entirely right. But back in London, the report landed like a spark on dry wood. The New World was real. It was reachable. It was full of possibility. And England, hungry and restless and crowded and cold, was ready to believe every word of it. This is the world that made Roanoke possible. A country that needed somewhere to go. A queen who needed power she couldn't openly claim. A man with a patent and a dream, and enough charm to convince other people to risk their lives for it. The ocean was right there. The promise was enormous, and nobody yet knew the cost. Sir Walter Raleigh never set foot on Roanoke Island. Not once. He never smelled the salt air off the Outer Banks. He never felt the soft Carolina sand under his boots. But he sent people there. He talked them into going. And that is the part of this story that matters. Raleigh was a man who could make you believe anything. He was tall, dark-haired, and dressed like a painting come to life. Silk doublets, pearl earrings, boots that cost more than most men earned in a year. He had the Queen's ear, and he knew how to use it. Elizabeth called him her water. He called her his son. It was that kind of relationship. He was also a man who had never been poor and never planned to be. The patent he held from the Queen gave him the right to claim land in the New World. But the patent had a deadline. He had to plant a permanent English settlement within 7 years or lose everything. That pressure sat on him like a stone. So Raleigh did what men like him always do. He found someone else to carry the weight. That man was John White. White was a painter. That is the first thing you should know about him. He carried brushes and pigments across the Atlantic. He made careful, beautiful drawings of the plants and animals and people he saw in this new world. His watercolors of the Carolina coast still exist today. Blue herons standing in shallow water, native villages drawn with quiet respect, fish and crabs and turtles rendered with the kind of attention a man gives to things he loves. He was not a soldier. He was not a politician. He was an artist who looked at the world and wanted to record it. White had already been to Roanoke once before, in 1585, as part of an earlier expedition. He had walked that island. He had met the people who lived there. He had drawn their faces. When Raleigh needed someone to lead a new colony, White said yes. Maybe he missed the place. Maybe he believed in it. Maybe he just trusted Raleigh's promises more than he should have. Raleigh promised a lot. He told the colonists they were going to a land of abundance. Warm winters, rich soil, friendly neighbors. He painted a picture of a place where English men and women could build something real, something lasting, something their children would inherit. The colony he described was not a military outpost. It was a town, a home. The people who signed on were ordinary. That is the part history sometimes forgets. These were not explorers with iron nerves. They were families, farmers and craftsmen, and young couples with their whole lives still ahead of them. 17 women made the crossing. 9 children came along. One man, Ananias Dare, brought his pregnant wife Eleanor. Eleanor was John White's daughter. She was carrying his grandchild across the ocean. Think about that for a moment. White was not just a governor leading strangers into the unknown. He was a father watching his daughter step onto a ship and sail toward a shore most people in England had never seen. He was a grandfather waiting to meet someone who hadn't been born yet. Whatever he felt about this venture, the hope, the doubt, the quiet fear, it was personal in a way that no official title could cover. The other colonists had their own reasons for coming. Some wanted land. In England, land meant everything, and most people had none. Some wanted a fresh start, the kind you can only get when you put an ocean between yourself and your past. Some probably just believed the stories. Raleigh's men had come back from earlier voyages talking about grapes as big as your fist and rivers full of fish and native people who were generous and curious. It sounded like paradise. It sounded like a place where things could be different. And underneath all of it, underneath Raleigh's promises and White's paintings and the colonists' quiet hopes, there was a simpler truth. England needed this to work. The Spanish were already in Florida. The French had tried and failed in the Carolinas. If England was going to have a foothold in this new world, someone had to stay. Someone had to plant roots and hold on. These were the people chosen for that work. A painter, a pregnant woman, a handful of farmers, a group of ordinary souls who had no idea what was waiting for them on that low green island at the edge of everything they had ever known. Before the mystery, there was just life. That sounds simple, but hold on to it for a moment. Before the empty fort and the carved word and the questions that have haunted 4 centuries of curious minds, there were people doing ordinary things, cooking, arguing, sleeping badly on unfamiliar ground, watching the sun come up over water they had never seen before. The first English attempt to settle Roanoke Island came in 1585. Sir Walter Raleigh had his patent. He had his ambition. And now he had a fleet of 7 ships carrying over 100 men toward the Carolina coast. These were soldiers and sailors and a handful of scientists. No families yet. No children. This was a scouting party dressed up as a colony, and the men aboard knew the difference. They arrived in the summer. The air was thick and green and alive in a way that England never was. The trees came right down to the water's edge. Spanish moss hung from the branches like old curtains. The light was gold and heavy, the kind of light that makes everything look slightly unreal, like a painting of a place rather than the place itself. They built a fort on the northern tip of Roanoke Island. Small earthen walls, a few wooden structures inside By English standards, it was rough. By wilderness standards, it was something. They had a roof. They had a fire. They had walls between themselves and the dark. The local Algonquian people watched all of this with careful eyes. Two men in particular shaped those early months. One was Ralph Lane, the colony's military governor. The other was Thomas Harriot, a brilliant young scientist who had actually learned some of the Algonquian language before the ships ever left England. Harriot walked among the local villages. He asked questions. He wrote things down. He tasted the food and studied the plants and drew careful notes about everything he saw. His report, published later in England, would become one of the most important documents about early American life that we have. Lane was a different kind of man. He was a soldier, and he thought like one. Where Harriet saw neighbors, Lane saw threats. Where Harriet built trust, Lane built suspicion. That tension between the two of them ran like a quiet crack through the whole first colony. The winter was hard. Food ran short. The men had come expecting to find a land that fed itself, and instead they found that survival here required knowledge they didn't have. The Algonquian people shared what they could, but the relationship was fragile, and Lane kept pushing it. He accused a local chief named Wingina of plotting against the English. Whether that was true or just fear talking, nobody knows for certain. What we know is that Lane ordered Wingina killed in the spring of 1586. That act changed everything. The goodwill that Harriet had spent months building cracked apart almost overnight. The local people pulled back. Trade slowed. The forest, which had felt welcoming in those first golden weeks, started to feel like it was watching. Then, in June of 1586, Sir Francis Drake appeared off the coast. He was returning from raiding Spanish settlements in the Caribbean, his ships heavy with supplies and freed captives. He stopped at Roanoke. He offered Lane a choice: take a smaller ship and some supplies and stay, or come home. Lane looked at his hungry, exhausted men. He looked at the damaged relationships with the people around them. He thought about the long summer ahead with no resupply ships on the horizon, and he chose to go home. They left so quickly, they left things behind: tools, supplies. A small group of 15 men who had been stationed at a separate outpost and simply didn't make it back to the ships in time. Those 15 men vanished into the island and were never seen again by English eyes. That detail tends to get lost in the bigger story, but it matters. Roanoke swallowed people the very first time anyone tried to stay. A few weeks after Lane's fleet disappeared over the horizon, Raleigh's resupply ships arrived. They found the fort empty. They left a small holding party of 18 men to keep English claim on the land and sailed back to England. So, by the end of 1586, Roanoke Island had already eaten 2 groups of people. The 15 men left behind in the chaos of Drake's rescue. The 18 men left behind by the resupply fleet. None of them were ever found. The island had a pattern now. It just hadn't shown all of its cards yet. The summer of 1586 should have been a turning point. Sir Francis Drake had just finished raiding Spanish settlements across the Caribbean. His ships were loaded with supplies, with men, with the kind of confidence that comes from winning. He swung north along the coast and stopped at Roanoke Island. He wanted to check on the colonists. He wanted to see how England's first real foothold in the New World was holding up. What he found was not what he expected. The men were thin. Their faces had gone hollow. The fort they'd built was standing, but just barely, like a man who's been sick too long and forgotten how to hold himself straight. Ralph Lane had kept them alive through the winter, but only just. He'd pushed into the surrounding land, made enemies of the Roanoke people, and burned through whatever goodwill the early months had built. The colony was breathing, but it was breathing hard. Drake offered to resupply them. He offered ships, food, and fresh men. Lane and the colonists looked at each other. They looked at the island. They looked at the dark line of trees that pressed in from every side. And then they said no. Not to the supplies, to the island itself. They wanted to go home, so they left. Every single one of them packed up and sailed back to England with Drake. The fort stood empty. The gardens they'd planted went to seed. The paths they'd worn through the grass began to disappear under new growth. Roanoke Island went quiet again. The way a room goes quiet after everyone has left a party, here is where something small happens, something easy to miss. Just weeks after Drake's ships disappeared over the horizon, a supply ship arrived. It had been sent by Walter Raleigh himself, loaded with everything the colony needed to survive another year. The captain sailed into the Sound, dropped anchor, and called out. No answer came back. He sent men ashore. They walked through the empty fort. They found cold fire pits and abandoned tools. They found a colony that had been alive and was now simply gone. The supply ship turned around and went home. Then, not long after that, a second fleet arrived. This one carried 15 men. Raleigh had sent them specifically to hold the island, to keep England's claim warm until a larger colony could be planted. 15 men. They stepped ashore onto an island that had just been abandoned twice in the same summer. Think about that for a moment. These 15 men knew the first colony had failed. They knew the supply ship had found nothing, and they stayed anyway. Their names are mostly lost now. History didn't think to write them all down. But they were real men with real faces, and they built fires on that island and slept under that sky and waited for something to come. They were a small flame left burning in a very large dark. Nobody knows exactly what happened to them. When John White arrived the following year with a new group of colonists, he asked around. He talked to the Croatoan people who lived on a barrier island to the south. They told him something that settled into the back of his mind and stayed there. They said the 15 men had been attacked. Some of them had been killed. The others had fled in a small boat and were never seen again. That's the story the Croatoan people told. And it's worth sitting with because they had no reason to lie. They had been, by most accounts, friendly to the English. They had traded with them, guided them, helped them understand a land that was completely foreign to the newcomers. When they said the 15 men were gone, they probably meant it. But there's another version. There's always another version with Roanoke. Some historians have suggested the 15 men didn't all die, that some of them slipped into the surrounding country, found shelter with local people, and simply never came back to the coast, that they became something new, something that wasn't quite English anymore, and wasn't quite anything else either. There's no proof of that. There's no proof against it. What's certain is this. By the time John White's new colonists stepped off their boats in the summer of 1587, the island had already swallowed one group of men whole. The fort was there. The walls were standing. But something about the place had already shown what it was capable of. The trees stood close. The sound water moved slow and dark around the edges of the land. The air smelled of salt and pine, and something older than either. The new colonists walked ashore anyway. Virginia Dare was born on August 18, 1587. She took her first breath on a small island off the coast of a continent that had no name for her yet. The air was thick with late summer heat. The trees pressed close to the settlement walls, and somewhere out in the dark water, the Atlantic moved slow and heavy, like it was thinking. She was the first English child born in the Americas. Her mother was Eleanor White. Her father was Ananias Dare, and her grandfather was John White, the governor of the whole struggling colony. 3 generations of one family, standing together at the very edge of the known world. The Croatoan people knew about this birth. They lived on the island to the south, a long stretch of sand and sea grass called Croatoan Island. They had been watching the English since, before the colonists even knew they were being watched. They had seen the first expedition come and go. They had seen the soldiers and the fear and the bad blood left behind. And now they saw this new group of settlers, smaller and softer than the soldiers, with women and children among them. One man among the Croatoan had a name the English could say: Manteo. He had crossed the ocean twice already. He had stood in the streets of London and watched the English in their own home. He understood both worlds in a way that almost no one else alive could claim. When Virginia Dare was baptized, Manteo stood nearby. He had been baptized himself just days before. The first native person in the Americas to be baptized into the Church of England. 2 baptisms in 1 week. 2 new members of a faith that was still learning what it meant to be in this place. The Croatoan people had their own stories about this land. They had lived along these barrier islands for generations, reading the weather water the way you might read a familiar face. They knew which winds came before a storm. They knew which tides could swallow a man whole. They knew the forest sounds that meant safety and the ones that meant something else entirely. And they knew the English were not ready. The settlers had arrived too late in the season to plant crops. Their supplies were already running thin. The men who had been left behind the year before, the 15 soldiers, had vanished without a clear explanation. Only bones had been found. The Croatoan people had their own account of what happened to those men, and it was not a gentle story. Neighboring tribes had grown tired of the English demands. The soldiers had pushed too hard. The land had pushed back. But the Croatoan themselves had chosen a different path. They had chosen something closer to patience. Manteo was part of that choice. He carried himself between two worlds and tried to hold them both steady. Still, the colonists were nervous. You can feel it in the records John White left behind. Small tensions. A colonist found dead near the water. Footprints that didn't belong to anyone in the settlement. The feeling that the trees had eyes. These were people far from home, sleeping behind a wooden wall they had built themselves, listening to a night that made no sound they recognized. The local stories that passed between the Croatoan and the colonists were traded carefully, like objects of uncertain value. The Croatoan warned the English about the tribes to the north. The English tried to explain their God to people who already had their own. Neither side fully understood what the other was offering. But Virginia Dare was something different. A child born here, on this soil, under this sky. She belonged to this place in a way her parents never could. The Croatoan understood that. A child born on the land is of the land. That was not an English idea. That was older than England. Some stories passed down through generations along the Carolina coast say the Croatoan people felt a kind of tenderness toward the baby, that she was seen as a sign of something, not a threat, not a conquest, something more like a beginning. A small, soft, breathing question about what this place might become. Nobody knows what Virginia Dare looked like. Nobody knows what she sounded like. She left no record of herself except the fact of her birth and and the silence that followed it. She was 11 months old when her grandfather sailed back to England. She was still on the island. She was still alive, as far as anyone knew. And then the world closed around her like water closing over a stone. John White did not want to leave. Picture him standing at the edge of Roanoke Island in the late summer of 1587. The air is thick and warm, heavy with the smell of salt marsh and pine resin. Behind him, 115 men, women, and children are building something from nothing. Ahead of him, the Atlantic stretches out like a gray sheet pulled tight to the horizon. He has a granddaughter now, Virginia Dare, born just weeks before, the first English child to open her eyes in this new world. And he is being asked to sail away from her. The colonists asked him to go. That is the part that gets lost in the telling. This was not a man abandoning his people. He was their governor, their leader, and they needed him to do the one thing only he could do. They needed supplies. They needed more people. They needed England to remember they existed. So they sent their governor home across 3,000 miles of open ocean, trusting that he would come back before the cold set in. White sailed in late August of 1587. He carried letters, lists, and the weight of every face he had left behind on that island. He reached England in November, and that is where the story starts to bend. England in 1587 was not a calm place. Queen Elizabeth sat on the throne, and her court was watching the horizon with nervous eyes. Spain had been building something enormous. King Philip II had spent years assembling a fleet so large that people called it the Armada Invincible, the Invincible Fleet. Every ship England had, every sailor, every resource was being pulled toward the coming fight. White arrived home asking for supply ships. The Crown looked at him and said, "Not now." He was not ignored entirely. He managed to get 2 small vessels loaded and ready to sail in the spring of 1588. But those ships never made it to Roanoke. Their captains turned them toward the open sea to hunt Spanish prizes, chasing gold instead of crossing the Atlantic. White was left standing on an English dock, watching his chance disappear over the water. Then the Armada came. In the summer of 1588, the Spanish fleet moved up the English Channel. It was one of the largest naval forces the world had ever seen. Hundreds of ships moving like a slow, dark cloud across the water. England met them with fire ships and fast vessels, and a storm that history would call providential. The Armada broke apart. Spain retreated. England celebrated. And John White spent another year trying to get someone to care about a small island off the coast of a continent most people in London had never seen. He finally sailed again in 1590. 3 years had passed since he left his granddaughter on that shore. Here is where the deeper history matters, because Roanoke Island did not exist in a vacuum. The Outer Banks had been home to the Croatoan people for generations beyond counting. They knew this land the way you know your own hand. They knew the tides, the storms, the seasons, the shifting sandbars that could swallow a ship whole. They had watched the English arrive. They had watched the first colony fail. They had watched the second colony plant itself in the same uncertain ground. The Croatoan were not strangers to White. Manteo, the man who had traveled to England twice and been baptized in the Anglican faith, was Croatoan. He was on the island when White left. He was one of the people the colonists trusted most. If something went wrong, if the winter came hard, or the food ran short, or the neighboring tribes grew hostile, Manteo was the bridge between two worlds. The colonists knew this. Before White sailed, they made a plan. If they had to move, they would carve the name of their destination into a tree. If they were in danger, they would add a cross above it. It was a simple code, the kind of thing you agree on before a long separation, the way you might leave a note on a kitchen table. White carried that agreement across the ocean and back. He held it in his mind through 3 years of war and delay and frustration. He believed in it the way you believe in something when believing is all you have left. The island was waiting for him when he returned. The fort was standing. The houses were there, but no fire burned. No voice called out. No child ran toward the shore. And on a post near the entrance, someone had carved a single word. John White sailed away in August of 1587. He stood at the back of the ship and watched Roanoke Island shrink behind him. The trees got smaller. The shore turned to a thin, dark line. Then the fog came in, and the island was gone. He told himself he'd be back in a few months. He was wrong. Back in England, the world had other plans for him. Queen Elizabeth needed every ship she could get. Spain had built an armada, a fleet so large it stretched across the horizon like a floating city. Hundreds of ships, thousands of soldiers. Spain wanted England, and England had to fight for its life. No vessel could leave port without the crown's permission. Not for trade, not for fishing, and certainly not for a supply run to a tiny colony on the far edge of the world. White begged. He wrote letters. He knocked on doors. He explained that there were people out there, his people, his family, waiting on an island with no way home, and no way to know help wasn't coming. He explained that winter was close, that food would run low, that the land was beautiful but unforgiving. Nobody listened, or rather, they listened and nodded and told him to wait. So he waited. The year 1587 turned to 1588. The Great Armada came, and the English fleet met it in the Channel. The sea battle lasted days. Ships burned. Men drowned. The wind itself seemed to take England's side, scattering the Spanish fleet into the cold northern waters. England survived. The whole country celebrated. White did not celebrate. He was thinking about Roanoke. He managed to get 2 small ships in 1588. They were too small and too poorly armed, and the captains were more interested in privateering than in supply runs. They got into a fight at sea. They turned back. White returned to England with nothing but bruises and a growing dread he couldn't name. Another year passed, then another. By the time 1590 arrived, 3 full years had gone by since White had last seen his daughter's face. 3 years since he'd held his granddaughter, Virginia. 3 years of silence from an island that had no way to send word, even if everything was fine. He had no idea if the colonists had built homes, if they'd made peace with the neighboring tribes, if they were hungry or warm or sick or thriving. He had no idea if they were alive. He finally got passage on a privateering expedition in 1590. The ship's captain, Abraham Cock, agreed to stop at Roanoke on the way back from raiding Spanish ships in the Caribbean. It wasn't a rescue mission. It wasn't a supply run. It was a favor, a detour, a small mercy tacked onto the end of someone else's voyage. White took what he could get. The ships reached the waters off Roanoke in mid-August. The date mattered. It had been almost exactly 3 years since White had left. He stood at the bow and watched the familiar coastline come into focus. The low dunes, the dark line of trees, the smell of salt and pine drifting out over the water. He saw smoke rising from the shore. His heart lifted. Smoke meant fire. Fire meant people. He called out to the crew. They lowered boats. They rowed toward the island through shallow water, calling out, firing signal guns, playing trumpets into the thick summer air. The sound bounced off the trees and came back to them empty. No one answered. They tried to land that evening, but the surf was rough and the light was failing. One of the boats capsized. Men were thrown into the churning water. Some of them drowned right there in the shallows, within sight of the shore. White watched from another boat, helpless, as the sea took them. They tried again the next morning. The smoke they'd seen turned out to be a grass fire. No one had lit it on purpose. It was just the land, burning the way land sometimes does in late summer, slow and indifferent. They rowed to the north end of the island. They found the settlement. The wooden palisade was still standing, its logs pale and weathered. The houses inside were gone, not burned, not collapsed, just absent, as if someone had carefully taken them apart and carried them away piece by piece. The grass had grown up through the spaces where floors had been. White walked through the silence of that empty place. 3 years of waiting had brought him here, to tall weeds and quiet air and a settlement that looked less like a disaster and more like a decision. Someone had left, but where they had gone, the island wasn't saying. John White came back on a ship called the Hopewell. It was August 18, 1590. 3 years had passed since he left his daughter and his granddaughter, and 100 other people standing on the shore of Roanoke Island. 3 years of war and waiting, and a sea that wouldn't let him through. Now the ship was close. The island was right there, dark and low against the water. He could see smoke rising from the trees. That smoke gave him hope. It meant fire. Fire meant people. He stood at the rail and watched the island grow larger, and something in his chest must have lifted. After everything, after all the delays and the storms and the years of silence, maybe they were still there. Maybe he would see his daughter's face before the sun went down. The sailors rowed him to shore. The light was fading. They called out as they landed, blowing a trumpet, singing old English songs into the warm Carolina air. The songs floated out over the water and the marsh grass and the pine trees. Nothing answered. No voices came back. Just the sound of the wind moving through the reeds, soft and steady, like breathing. They found the settlement the next morning. White described what he saw in his own journal, and his words are still there for anyone to read. The houses were taken down, not burned, not broken apart in panic. Taken down carefully, the way you would if you were moving somewhere else and wanted to carry the wood with you. The grass had grown up where the buildings used to stand. The fence around the settlement was still there, but it was overgrown with vines, thick and green, like the forest was slowly pulling it back. He wrote that the place felt long abandoned. Inside the fence, they found chests buried in the dirt. Some of them were his own. He had left things behind when he sailed for England, things he couldn't carry. Books, maps, armor. He found them dug up and ruined, the armor red with rust. The books rotted through, the pages stuck together and black with mold. Someone had dug them up and gone through them. He didn't know if it was the colonists themselves or someone else. He wrote about how it felt to stand there. He used plain words. He said he was grieved. He said he was troubled. He was a man looking at the ruins of something he had built and loved, and the people who were supposed to be inside it were simply gone. But there was one thing that wasn't a ruin. On one of the posts of the fence, someone had carved letters into the wood. Capital letters, cut deep and clean. Croatoan, the carving was neat. It wasn't scratched in a hurry. Whoever made it had taken their time. White recognized it immediately. Before he left, he and the colonists had agreed on a signal. If they moved, they would carve the name of their destination into a tree or a post. If they were in danger, they would add a cross above the letters. There was no cross. White wrote that he felt comfort when he saw it. That word is remarkable. Comfort. He believed it was a message. He believed they had gone to Croatoan Island, which was about 50 miles south, where a friendly tribe lived, a tribe the colonists already knew. He believed they were alive. He believed he would find them. He never did. The weather turned. A storm came in fast and hard. The anchors on the Hopewell dragged, and one of them was lost. The captain decided they had to go. White argued. He wanted to sail south to Croatoan. The captain said no. The ship was in danger. They had to leave. White stood on that deck and watched Roanoke Island disappear behind him, and he never went back. He never saw his daughter again. He never saw Virginia Dare again. He wrote about it later, and even in his careful, formal language, you can feel the weight of it. He called it his fifth and last voyage to Virginia. He wrote that he committed the relief of his people to the mercy of God. That was the last first-hand account anyone ever wrote about the colony. Everything after that is theory and rumor and archaeology and hope. White was the only person who went back. He was the only one who stood in that empty place and looked at those carved letters and felt, for just a moment, like he understood what had happened. He was wrong about that. Or maybe he was right. Nobody has been able to say for certain, not in 400 years. John White stood at the edge of the settlement and looked at a post. Just a post. Rough wood, gray from weather, planted in the ground like a marker. And carved into it, in clean, deliberate letters, was a single word. Croatoan. He stared at it for a long time. The air smelled of salt and wet grass. The fort around him was empty. The houses were gone. Not burned, not broken, just gone, like someone had packed them up and carried them away. The silence was thick as wool, and that one word sat there in the wood, waiting for him. Here is what we know about that word. White had left instructions before he sailed back to England 3 years earlier. If the colonists had to leave, they should carve the name of wherever they were going into a post or a tree. If they left in danger or distress, they should carve a cross above the name. White looked at the post. He looked at the tree nearby, where the letters CRO had been cut into the bark. No cross, no sign of panic, just the name. Croatoan was an island. It sat about 50 miles south of Roanoke, down the chain of barrier islands that line the Carolina coast. The Croatoan people lived there. They were one of the local tribes, and they had been, at least sometimes, friendly to the English. Their chief was a man named Manteo. He had actually sailed to England twice. He had been baptized by the English colonists just weeks before White left. If any group of native people in that region might take in 100 frightened English settlers, the Croatoan people were the most likely. So the word made a kind of sense, and White believed it. He wrote later that he felt sure his people had gone to Croatoan Island and were alive there. He wanted to sail south immediately and find them. But the weather had other plans. A storm came up fast, the way Atlantic storms do in late summer. It tore at the ships. An anchor cable snapped. One of the vessels nearly went down. The captain decided they had to run before the wind and head for open water. White watched the Carolina coast disappear behind him. He never made it to Croatoan Island. He never went back at all. And here is where the pattern starts to show itself. 3 separate things point toward Croatoan: the carved post, the letters on the tree, and the fact that no cross was cut above either one. White's own instructions said the cross meant danger. No cross meant a planned departure. Someone among those colonists, maybe many of them, made a choice. They chose a direction. They chose a name. They carved it carefully, and they left. That is not the behavior of people who were slaughtered in the night. That is not the behavior of people swept away by some sudden disaster. That is the behavior of people who had time to think, time to decide, and time to leave a message. Now hold that thought alongside something else. Decades later, when English settlers finally established themselves at Jamestown, they started hearing stories from the Powhatan people. Chief Powhatan himself reportedly told the English that there were people to the south, people who wore European-style clothes, people who worked with metal tools. Some accounts say Powhatan claimed his warriors had killed them just before the Jamestown settlers arrived. Other accounts say the stories were vaguer than that, more like rumors carried up the coast from tribe to tribe. But the direction those stories pointed was always south, always toward the Outer Banks, always toward the territory of the Croatoan people. And then there are the Hatteras Island stories. Hatteras is the modern name for what was once Croatoan Island. For generations, the people living there told travelers that their ancestors had intermarried with white-skinned people who came from the sea. They described gray eyes in families where gray eyes had no other explanation. They described old words in their language that sounded like English words worn smooth by time. These are not documents. These are not proof, but they are pieces, and the pieces keep pointing the same direction. The word on the post, the letters on the tree, the stories from Powhatan's people, the gray eyes on Hatteras Island. None of these things alone would mean much, but they come from different places, different times, different mouths, and they all say the same thing. South. The colonists went south. Whether they survived what came next is a different question entirely. The word was carved into wood. It was left in plain sight, and it pointed like a finger toward a people who had been there all along. The Croatoan lived on a barrier island south of Roanoke. They were not strangers to the English. They had fed them. They had guided them. One of their own, a man named Manteo, had sailed across the ocean to England and come back again. He had stood between two worlds and kept both of them from falling apart. If the colonists trusted anyone in that country, they trusted the Croatoan. So when John White found that name cut into the post, he did not panic. He said later that he felt something close to hope. The colonists had agreed on a signal before he left. If they moved, they would carve the name of the place they were going. If they were in danger, they would add a cross above the letters. There was no cross. There was only the name, and the name meant something good, or at least something safe. But White never reached Croatoan Island. The storm came up fast. The anchors dragged. The ships were pushed out to sea before anyone could set foot on that southern shore. He never got his answer, and the Croatoan people, who may have known everything, were never asked. That silence is the heart of this mystery. Think about what the Croatoan likely saw. They lived close. The waters between the islands were shallow and narrow. Canoes crossed them in an hour. If 115 people packed up their belongings, dismantled a settlement, and moved south, the Croatoan would have known. They would have watched it happen. They may have helped it happen. Some versions of this story say the colonists didn't just move near the Croatoan. They moved in with them. Intermarriage was not unusual along that coast. The lines between peoples were not always hard. A woman from England and a man from the island could build a life together. Their children would have grown up speaking both languages, knowing both ways of living. They would have belonged to both worlds and neither. The Croatoan chief at the time was a man named Menatonen's kin, and the community had already shown they were willing to accept outsiders. Manteo himself had been made a lord by the English, given a title in a ceremony that blended two very different ideas of what power meant. The Croatoan were not a closed people. They were curious, careful, and practical. Taking in a group of cold, hungry, frightened English settlers was not impossible. It may have been exactly what happened. There is a detail that gets passed down quietly in this story. When English explorers came through that region in later years, they heard things. They heard about people with gray eyes living among the coastal tribes. They heard about families who kept iron tools and knew how to use them. They heard about a group of people who had, somewhere in their past, learned to read. These stories floated through the region for decades. Nobody wrote them down carefully. Nobody followed them far enough. But the Croatoan themselves, or the people who descended from them, the community now known as the Lumbee, have carried their own version of this history. They have said for generations that their ancestors absorbed the English colonists, that the two peoples became one, that the lost colony was never truly lost, only changed. The trouble is that history did not treat the Croatoan kindly. Their island was hit by disease. Their population shrank. They moved inland over the following century, away from the coast and away from the records that English settlers kept. By the time anyone thought to ask them directly what had happened at Roanoke. The people who had watched it unfold were long gone. What remained were stories passed from grandparent to grandchild, warm and specific in the way that only memory can be. And stories are not nothing. They are often the only record that survives. The competing view, of course, is that the Croatoan carving was a message that never got delivered, that the colonists set out for that island and never arrived, that something happened on the water or in the woods or in the dark between one place and another, and the Croatoan received no one. That the name on the post was a hope, not a fact. Both things feel true in different lights. That is what makes this particular mystery so hard to put down. The answer seems close enough to touch. It always has. And yet it stays just out of reach, like a candle flame in a window across a wide, dark sound. Here is the thing that keeps people up at night. Not the carving, not the empty fort, not the silence that greeted John White when he finally stepped back onto that island after 3 long years. Those things are strange, yes, but they have explanations, or at least the shape of explanations. People can work with them. People can build theories around them and sleep soundly. What people cannot quite shake is simpler than all of that. 115 men, women, and children packed up everything they owned, walked out of a fortified settlement, and left no bodies, no graves, no signs of struggle, and no trail. They did not leave in panic. The fort was not burned. The houses were not ransacked. The supplies were not scattered across the ground the way they would be if something terrible had come fast and without warning. Everything was orderly. Everything was deliberate. Someone had taken the time to dismantle the buildings, post by post, plank by plank, and carry the wood away. Think about what that means. These were not soldiers. They were families. There were pregnant women among them. There were children who had never seen a forest before they crossed the Atlantic. There were elderly men and women who had left comfortable lives in England to try something new and frightening. And somehow, all of them together made a decision. They gathered their things. They walked into the trees, and they never looked back. That is the impossible detail, not that they vanished. they left so cleanly, the most straightforward theory is also the most quietly astonishing one. The colonists simply walked away. They chose to go. They made a plan, probably long before John White ever returned, and they carried it out with remarkable calm. This theory is sometimes called the voluntary dispersal theory, and it holds that the colonists integrated themselves into nearby native communities, most likely the Croatoan people of Hatteras Island, or possibly a group further inland along the Albemarle Sound. Under this theory, the carving was not a cry for help. It was a forwarding address. White himself believed something close to this. He said later that he was not troubled by the carving because the colonists had agreed before he left that if they moved, they would mark their destination on a tree. If they were in danger, they would add a cross above the name. There was no cross. White took that as a good sign. He believed they had gone to Croatoan willingly, on their own terms, and were living there in relative safety. And here is where it gets difficult to hold in your mind all at once. If White believed this, and if the carving was exactly the signal they had agreed upon, then why did no one go to Croatoan and look? White tried. His ships were battered, and his captain refused. He went back to England. He spent years trying to mount another search. He never made it back. The one man who had the best reason to believe his family was alive, and waiting could never get anyone to sail him to the right island. That silence, that gap, is its own kind of impossible thing. The voluntary dispersal theory has real support. Scholars who study the period point out that the colonists had been on Roanoke Island for over 2 years by the time White returned. They had learned the land. They had built relationships with neighboring peoples. They had children born on American soil. They were no longer strangers. They were, in some ways, already becoming something new. Walking away from a failing English settlement and into a community that knew how to survive the Carolina coast was not surrender. It may have been the smartest thing they ever did. But the competing view is just as honest. Some historians argue that a group this size, moving through unfamiliar territory with children and elderly members, would have left traces, broken branches, fire rings, discarded tools, something. yet the land gave almost nothing back. The forest absorbed them the way still water absorbs a stone. A ripple, and then nothing. The damp pine smell of that island, the gray Atlantic light, the sound of wind moving through the live oaks along the shore. All of it was the same when White arrived as it had been when he left. The world had not changed. Only the people were gone. 115 souls walking calmly into the American dark. No screaming, no fire, no last desperate message scratched into wood, just a name, and then nothing but trees. Some people look at this mystery and feel something different from wonder. They feel frustration. They pick up the story, turn it over in their hands, and say, "We are making this harder than it needs to be." The colonists left. They went somewhere. People don't just disappear. There is always a trail, always a reason, always something left behind in the dirt if you look hard enough. The skeptics have been part of this story for a long time, and they are not wrong to ask hard questions. Start with the physical evidence. For centuries, the Roanoke site gave up almost nothing. No graves, no tools buried in the soil, no foundations that clearly matched the 1587 settlement. Archaeologists dug carefully and came up mostly empty. A skeptic looks at that and says, if 115 people lived here for 3 years, where is the mess they made? Where are the broken pots, the animal bones, the fire pits, the lost buttons? People leave things behind. They always do. The near silence of the ground felt suspicious to some researchers. It made them wonder if the story had been stretched, exaggerated, misremembered across 4 centuries of retelling. Then there are the rings. In the early 2000s, researchers from the Lost Colony DNA Project began collecting genetic samples from families in the Lumbee community and from other groups in the Carolinas who claimed descent from the colonists. The goal was to find a match, a thread of European DNA woven into a native bloodline, proof that the 2 peoples had merged. Some samples showed interesting results. A few families carried genetic markers that pointed toward European ancestry from a very early period. But the skeptics pushed back hard. They said the sample sizes were too small. They said the methodology had gaps. They said you cannot build a firm conclusion on a handful of cheek swabs, and a family story passed down through oral tradition. The science was suggestive, they argued, but not solid. And they had a point. Oral tradition is powerful. It carries truth across generations in ways that written records never can. But it also shifts. It bends around the needs of the people telling it. A community that has faced erasure and forced assimilation for centuries has every reason to hold onto a story that connects them to the founding of America. That does not make the story false. It does make it complicated. The skeptics ask you to sit with that complication rather than smooth it over. There were also bones. A set of human remains found near the Hatteras area drew attention for a time. The bones were old. The burial style was unusual. Some researchers believed they pointed toward a mixed community, a place where English and native people had lived and died side by side. But forensic analysis was inconclusive. The remains were fragmentary. The dating was imprecise. A skeptic looks at inconclusive evidence and says, "Inconclusive means we don't know. It does not mean yes." This is the skeptic's strongest tool. They are very good at pointing out the distance between what the evidence shows and what the story needs it to show. But here is where even the careful doubters go a little quiet. The word Croatoan was not scratched in a hurry. It was not a desperate scrawl. John White described it clearly. The letters were carved deep and clean into a post. Someone took time. Someone had a plan. And that plan pointed in a specific direction, toward a specific people, toward a specific island. The skeptics can argue about DNA and bone fragments and the silence of the soil. But they have a harder time explaining why a group of frightened, starving colonists would carve a careful message pointing toward the Croatoan people if those people had nothing to do with what happened next. A random carving you can dismiss. A panicked message you can explain away. But a deliberate, clean, specific word carved into wood by someone who expected to be understood, that is harder to set aside. The skeptics also cannot fully account for what was not there. No sign of violence at the site. No scattered weapons. No burned buildings. No bodies. ever happened, it did not look like a massacre. It did not look like starvation or plague, which tend to leave the dead where they fall. It looked like people who packed their things, made a decision, and walked away into the trees with somewhere in mind. The skeptics are right that we don't have proof, but the absence of proof cuts both ways. The ground gave up almost nothing, and sometimes nothing is the loudest thing of all. There is a map sitting in the Blenheim Palace archives in England. It is old, older than the United States, older than most things you have ever touched. John White drew it himself sometime in the 1580s with careful hands and careful ink. He drew the coastline of what would become North Carolina. He drew the sounds and the inlets and the barrier islands. He drew the place where his people lived and the places where they might go. For a long time, people looked at that map and saw what they expected to see. Coastline, water, names written in faded brown ink, a document from a dead world. Then, in 2012, a researcher at the British Museum looked closer. She was using a special kind of light, the kind that cuts through old paper and old paint and shows you what is underneath. And underneath, one small patch of the map, hidden beneath a paper repair that someone had glued over the surface centuries ago, there was a symbol, a four-pointed star, drawn in a different ink, placed at a location inland, far from Roanoke Island, near the junction of two rivers. The patch had been hiding something all along. The researchers who found it did not shout. They did not rush to press conferences. They sat with what they had found, and they looked at it for a long time. The First Colony Foundation, a group of historians and archaeologists who have spent years trying to answer this question, worked with the British Museum carefully and quietly. They published their findings. They said what they believed. The hidden symbol, they argued, might mark a second site, a place the colonists had planned to go if things went wrong, a backup, an escape route drawn in secret ink by a man who knew the colony was fragile. That man was John White. Think about what it means if White put that mark there himself. He knew something. He planned for something. Before he ever left for England, before the ships sailed away and the years of silence began, he may have already drawn the place where his people would go if Roanoke failed them. He may have hidden it under a patch so that only the right person, someone who knew to look, would ever find it. The researchers who believe this are not dreamers. They are careful people. They use instruments and archives and peer review. And they will tell you calmly that the symbol is real. The patch is real. The location it points to is real. Whether it means what they think it means is the part that stays open. Because there are skeptics. There always are. Some historians look at the same symbol and say it could mean anything. A repair mark, a printer's note, a stain that looks like intention, but is just age doing what age does. They point out that one symbol on one map does not tell you where 115 people went. It tells you there is a mark under a patch. Nothing more. But the believers have something the skeptics do not. They have a place to dig. The location, the symbol points to sits in what is now Bertie County, North Carolina. Inland, away from the coast, away from the storms and the Spanish ships and the open water. The first colony foundation has been excavating there. They have found things, fragments of English pottery from the late 1500s, copper, signs that someone built something in that place during that time. Not proof, not a signed confession from history, but something. And the people who have spent years on their knees in that dirt, brushing soil away from broken pieces of an old world, they carry a particular kind of calm. You can hear it when they talk. They are not trying to convince you. They already know what they believe. They found it slowly, carefully, in layers. It cost them years. It cost them the comfortable certainty of not knowing, and they gained something harder to name, a thread, a direction, a reason to keep going back. That is what believers have that the mystery itself does not. The mystery just sits there. It does not need anything from you. But the people who believe they are close to an answer, they need the next season, the next dig, the next careful pass of light across old paper. The map is still in the archive. The patch is still there, glued down over a secret that may or may not be a secret. The symbol underneath, it is still a four-pointed star pointing at a place in the Carolina interior where the trees grow thick and the soil holds old things for a very long time. Someone drew that mark. Someone hid it. And and someone, 400 years later, found it again. There is a people in North Carolina who have been telling this story longer than any historian has been writing it down. The Lumbee. They live in Robeson County now, in the low, flat country of the coastal plain, where the rivers move slow and brown through stands of cypress and pine. They have lived in that country for as long as anyone can remember. And for generations, they have said the same thing. They said it quietly at first, then louder as the years passed and nobody listened. They said that the English did not vanish. They said the English became someone else. The Lumbee have always carried English surnames: Locklear, Oxendine, Lowry. These are not native names. They are not Spanish names. They are English names, worn smooth by 400 years of use, passed down through families who also speak of ancestors with gray eyes and light hair, people who looked different from the surrounding tribes, people who arrived from somewhere else a very long time ago. The Lumbee have said this for centuries. The colonists came south. They came inland. They found people willing to take them in, and they stayed. Now stand in the land itself for a moment. Feel what it feels like. The coastal plain of North Carolina is not dramatic country. It does not have mountains or cliffs or the kind of scenery that makes you stop the car. It is quiet country, wide and flat and green, threaded through with dark rivers that carry the color of strong tea. The soil is soft here, sandy in places, rich black in others. It holds water, and it holds secrets in equal measure. There are places in this land where the ground does not behave the way ground should. Old-timers know them. Patches of earth where nothing grows quite right, where the soil resists the plow, where water pools in strange shapes that follow lines no natural drainage would explain. Farmers have turned up stones here that were cut by human hands. Foundations that nobody built. Hearths buried under 100 years of pine straw and leaf rot. The land remembers what happened on it. It keeps the record in its own language. The rivers remember too. The Lumber River winds through this country like a long, slow thought. Its banks are thick with tupelo and black gum, their roots reaching down into water the color of amber. People have walked these banks for thousands of years. the Lumbee walked them. And somewhere in the oral memory of this nation, there is a story about strangers who came from the east, from the direction of the sea, carrying things made of metal and cloth, speaking words that sounded like wind through a cracked door. The strangers needed help. The people gave it. That is the story as the Lumbee have always told it. Not a story of conquest, not a story of disaster, a story of people finding each other at the edge of the known world and deciding to share it. The trees in this part of North Carolina grow old and strange. There are live oaks here with trunks as wide as a small room, their branches reaching out parallel to the ground, heavy and slow, draped in Spanish moss that moves like gray curtain in the slightest wind. Some of these trees were already old when the colonists arrived. They were here. They watched. There is a particular quality to the light in this country in the late afternoon. It comes in low and golden through the pines, and it turns everything amber and warm, and the shadows stretch long across the sandy ground. And for a moment, the whole place feels like it exists slightly outside of time, like the past is not behind you here, like it is beside you, just out of sight, walking the same path. The Lumbee have always lived in that light, and they have always known something that the historians are only now beginning to consider seriously. The Lost Colony DNA Project has been working with Lumbee families, collecting genetic samples, looking for the biological signature of English ancestry mixed into the bloodline of this nation. The results so far are not simple. They are not a clean answer, but they are not nothing either. There are markers. There are traces. There are threads in the genetic record that lead back across the water to England, woven into the Lumbee line at a point in history that matches the timing of the colony's disappearance. The land holds the memory. The blood holds the memory. The names hold the memory. The Lumbee have been saying this all along. They did not need a DNA project to tell them who they are. They already knew. People disappear into America all the time. Not just people, whole ways of life, whole communities. They slip into the land like water into dry soil, and after a generation or two, something new grows up in their place. Something that carries the old roots but looks entirely different on the surface. The Roanoke colonists were not the first to do this, and they were not the last. Think about the French traders who pushed deep into the Great Lakes country in the 1600s. Men who left Paris or Lyon or Bordeaux with a company charter and a dream of beaver pelts. Some of them never came back, not because they died, because they stayed. They married Ojibwe women. They learned Algonquian and Cree. They raised children who spoke 3 languages and belonged fully to none of the old worlds their parents had known. The French called these children the Métis, a whole new people, born from the place where 2 worlds pressed against each other. That same pattern played out in the Carolina lowlands, in the Georgia hills, along the Mississippi, everywhere the edge of European settlement touched the edge of native life. There were people who chose to cross over, or who had no choice, or who simply found that the crossing made more sense than anything else available to them. The Roanoke colonists had 115 people and a shrinking food supply. They had no ship. They had no word from England. What they had was a continent stretching west and south, full of people who knew how to live in it. There is a name historians use for Europeans who lived among native communities. They called them White Indians. The phrase is clumsy, and it carries a lot of old prejudice inside it. But the thing it points to was real. It happened often enough that colonial governors wrote worried letters about it. Men and women who went native, as they said, who stopped being English or French or Spanish in any way that mattered to the people back home. Some of them were captives who chose to stay after they could have left. Mary Jemison is the most famous example. She was taken by the Seneca in 1758 during the French and Indian War. She was a teenager from Pennsylvania. She lived with the Seneca for the rest of her life, raised Seneca children, and when she was old and someone finally wrote down her story, she said she had never wanted to leave. The Seneca were her people. Pennsylvania was a dream she had mostly forgotten. Her story is not Roanoke, but it rhymes with Roanoke. The colonists on that island had already spent time among the Croatoan people. They had eaten with them, traded with them, learned enough of their language to ask for help. Some of them almost certainly had formed bonds that went deeper than trade. A winter spent sheltering together does something to people. It pulls down the walls that polite society builds up. And there is this. The English colonists of 1587 were not the cream of London society. They were craftsmen and farmers and young families who had nothing much to lose. They were people who had already made one enormous leap by crossing an ocean. Making another leap into a different way of living would not have been unthinkable. For some of them, it might have felt like the only sensible thing left to do. Across the continent, in the centuries that followed, this kind of absorption happened quietly and constantly. Small groups of settlers cut off from supply lines, isolated communities that ran out of options. People who found that the land had its own logic, and that the native peoples who had lived on it for thousands of years understood that logic far better than any map drawn in London ever could. The Lumbee people of North Carolina have carried this story in their own way. Their oral traditions speak of ancestors who came from two directions at once. Their family names, the ones that go back the farthest, include names that sound English. Dare, Sampson, Cooper, names that appear in the Roanoke colony records. Whether those names are proof of anything is still debated. Names travel in strange ways. They get borrowed and traded and passed down through channels that have nothing to do with blood. But the pattern underneath the names is older than the debate. It is the pattern of people becoming something new, of two worlds pressing together until the line between them softens and finally disappears. America was built on that disappearing line. Roanoke may have been one of the first places it happened. It was nowhere near the last. Some mysteries live only in stories. They pass from mouth to mouth like smoke, and after a while, you can't tell what was real and what was invented. But some mysteries leave things behind. Physical things, objects you can hold in your palm, turn over in the light, and wonder about. The Roanoke story has a few of those. Not many, but enough to make you pause. In the late 1930s and into the 1940s, a series of stones began to appear across the Carolinas and Georgia. They were rough, heavy slabs of gray quartzite, and carved into their faces were messages. The messages claimed to be from Eleanor Dare, John White's daughter, the mother of Virginia. The first stone told of sickness and death. It told of colonists moving inland. It gave names and dates. It was written in the voice of a grieving woman trying to leave a record for her father, who she knew would come back looking. That first stone turned up in 1937. A man named Louis Hammond found it in a swamp near Edenton, North Carolina. He sold it to a tourist for a few dollars. That tourist brought it to Emory University. Scholars looked at it and got excited. Then more stones appeared. Then more after that. By the end, there were nearly 50 of them, scattered across hundreds of miles. The story they told together was long and detailed and heartbreaking. Eleanor Dare's husband died. Her daughter Virginia died. The colonists were attacked. They moved. They scattered. They prayed. Emory University published a paper calling the stones genuine. The Saturday Evening Post ran a story. People were thrilled. Here, finally, was the record they had been waiting for. Then, a journalist named Boyden Sparks started asking questions. He found the man who had sold most of the later stones. He found receipts. He found a trail. The stones, all but possibly the first, appeared to be a hoax. The carvings were too clean. The story was too neat. The quartzite was the wrong kind for the regions where some of them were found. Emory walked back its endorsement. The stones were quietly set aside. But that first stone, the one from the swamp near Edenton, that one has never been fully dismissed. Scholars still argue about it. The carving style is different from the later stones. The weathering is older. Nobody has ever proven it was faked. It sits in a kind of limbo, neither confirmed nor discredited, which is exactly where so much of this story lives. Then there are the smaller things, the quieter finds. On Hatteras Island, which was once the home of the Croatoan people, archaeologists have pulled objects from the soil that have no easy explanation. A small copper ring with a design that matches English metalwork from the late 16th century. A piece of iron shot, the kind used in English firearms of that era. A small brass object that that may have been a book clasp, the kind used to hold together a leather-bound Bible or journal. These are not dramatic. They do not prove anything on their own, but they are the right objects in the right place at roughly the right time. What makes them interesting is the context. They were found not in a trading post or a shipwreck scatter. They were found in the soil around what appears to have been a Croatoan village site, mixed in with native pottery and shell middens and the ordinary debris of daily life. Objects that belonged to English people, living among people who were not English, or perhaps trading with them, or perhaps taking them from a wreck. The skeptics are right to say that objects move. A copper ring doesn't prove a colonist wore it. It proves the ring was there. Nothing more. But here is what you sit with. The ring is small, the right size for a child's finger or a woman's. The copper is worked in a way that local craftspeople did not work copper at that time. Someone made it somewhere else and carried it a long way. And it ended up in the ground of an island that a desperate English governor circled twice in a storm, calling out names that no one answered. Objects don't speak. They just sit there, patient as stone, waiting for someone to ask the right question. The ring doesn't say who wore it. The iron shot doesn't say who fired it. The book clasp doesn't say what words it once held shut. But they were there, in the dirt, in the dark, waiting for 400 years to be found by someone who was still looking. Some stories travel through time inside families, not in books, not in museums, in the mouths of grandmothers and uncles and cousins who lean across dinner tables and say, "You need to hear this." The Roanoke story is one of those. For 400 years, families along the Carolina coast have carried their own version of what happened. Some of those versions are gentle. The colonists found good people. They built new lives. They became someone else and were happy. Those stories have a warmth to them, like firelight on a winter wall. But some of the family stories are darker. They don't get written down as often. They don't make it into the history books or the museum pamphlets. They get passed down quietly, the way you pass down something fragile, carefully, with both hands. The darker version goes something like this. The colonists did not all survive. Not that all of them walked away into the trees and found a soft landing among friendly people. Some of them met something harder. Some of them met violence, and the ones who survived carried that knowledge with them for the rest of their lives, and they told their children, and their children told theirs. This version has roots in the Powhatan oral tradition. The Powhatan people, who lived north of Roanoke in what is now Virginia, had their own account. Their leaders spoke of a group of people, pale-skinned, who had lived among a southern tribe for many years. And then, not long before the English arrived at Jamestown in 1607, those people were killed. The order came from Powhatan himself, or so the story goes. He had been told by his priests that a nation would rise from the Chesapeake Bay and destroy his confederacy. He acted first. John Smith heard this story. He wrote it down. He said Powhatan admitted to it, or something close to it. He described copper objects and a metal tool, things that looked English, things that had been taken from the dead. That detail sits heavy. A metal tool, copper. These are not things the coastal tribes made in that way. These are things that crossed an ocean. Now, the historians argue about this. Some say Smith misunderstood. Some say Powhatan was telling Smith what he wanted to hear, or what he feared, or what made him look powerful. The Powhatan oral tradition is not a simple document you can cross-check against a ledger. It is a living thing, shaped by the people who carry it. But the families along the Carolina coast heard a version of this story too. And in their telling, it wasn't just Powhatan's people. It was a split. The colonists had divided. Some went one way, some went another. The ones who went north found danger. The ones who stayed south, who went to Croatoan, who wove themselves into the fabric of the island people, those ones survived. That split is the heart of the darker family story. Not everyone made it. Not everyone was lucky. And here is the part that stays with you. The families who carry this version don't tell it with anger. They don't tell it with grief, exactly. They tell it the way you tell a story about a storm that happened before you were born. With respect, with a kind of quiet weight. Because the people who didn't make it were still people. They had names. They had children they were trying to protect. They had crossed an ocean for a reason. Alina Dare is in these stories. Her name surfaces again and again, even in the darker versions. She is the thread that holds the whole thing together. A young mother at the edge of the world, trying to keep her daughter alive, trying to make sense of a place that didn't have English words yet. In some family tellings, Alina made it. In others, she didn't. In the ones where she didn't, the story always pauses there. It doesn't rush past it. It sits with it. Because losing a mother is something every family understands, no matter what century they're living in. The story has been polished by time. Some edges have been worn smooth. Some details have been quietly set aside because they were too hard to carry. That's what families do. They shape the story to fit the living, but the core stays. Something happened on that island. Something happened in the years after. Not everyone made it out the same way. And the people who came after, the ones who are still here, still talking, still leaning across tables at holidays, they are the proof that some of them did. "400 years is a long time to keep looking for something." Think about that for a moment. Think about the generations of people who have stood on the shore of Roanoke Island, looked out at the gray-green water, and asked the same question. What happened here? The grass grows the same way it always did. The wind off the sound still smells of salt and mud and something older than memory. And the question just hangs there, unanswered, the way it always has. People have been searching since, before this country had a name. John White came back in 1590 and found nothing but a word on a post. He searched the island. He called out. Nobody answered. He went home and spent the rest of his life trying to mount another expedition that never happened. He died still wondering. His granddaughter was out there somewhere, or she wasn't, and he never found out which. After White, there was silence for a long time. The colony faded into the background noise of a young and struggling empire. England had other problems, other settlements, other disasters. Roanoke became a footnote, a strange little story people told when they wanted to feel the hair rise on the back of their necks. But it never fully disappeared. By the 1700s, travelers along the Carolina coast were already hearing stories from the local people. gray-eyed men and women who spoke a few words of English. Families with names that sounded almost familiar. The Hatteras people, the ones who had once called themselves Croatoan, told visitors that their ancestors had absorbed the English long ago. They said it plainly, without drama, the way you mention something that everyone already knows. Nobody wrote it down carefully. Nobody thought to ask the right questions. The stories drifted like smoke. Then came the 1800s, and suddenly Roanoke was romantic. The lost colony became a symbol. It fit perfectly into the way Americans were starting to think about themselves, about destiny and sacrifice, and the cost of building something new. Poets wrote about Virginia Dare. Painters imagined her. She became a kind of ghost child of the nation, pale and golden-haired, wandering through the Carolina pines. None of that was history. Most of it was feeling. But feeling is how a story survives 4 centuries. By the early 1900s, serious researchers started arriving. They brought notebooks and measuring tools and a desire to separate fact from legend. They found the Dare stones, those carved rocks that claimed to tell Eleanor Dare's final story. Some believed them. Others proved at least some of them were fakes. The argument over which stones were real and which were invented has never fully settled down. And still people kept coming. The Lost Colony outdoor drama opened on Roanoke Island in 1937. It has run almost every summer since. Thousands of people have sat in the warm night air and watched actors play out the story of the colonists, the birth of Virginia Dare, the departure of John White. The script has changed over the years. The way the native characters are portrayed has changed, but the audience keeps showing up. That matters. It tells you something. People don't keep showing up to a story that doesn't mean anything to them. They come because the mystery touches something real. The fear of being forgotten. The hope that someone is still looking. The idea that a whole community of people could simply step sideways out of history and become something new. The Lumbee people of North Carolina have been saying for generations that they carry the blood of those colonists. The Lost Colony DNA Project has been trying to find genetic evidence that proves or disproves that claim. The work is slow. The results are complicated. Some families show markers that could point to early European contact. Others don't. The science is careful, and the conclusions are cautious, and the question remains open. Meanwhile, archaeologists at Site X, the inland location near Mary Hill, keep digging. They find fragments of English pottery. They find evidence of a structure that dates to the right period. Each small find gets examined from every angle. Each one is either a piece of the answer or a coincidence, and the researchers are honest enough to say they don't always know which. That honesty is its own kind of gift, because the truth about 400 years of searching is this: the search itself became the story. Every person who picked up a shovel or opened an archive or sat with an elder and listened was adding their own chapter. The colony disappeared, yes, but the act of looking for them never did. Something happened on that island. Something real and human and irreversible. And the world has been leaning in ever since, trying to hear it. Close your eyes for a moment. Not all the way, just enough to let the world go soft around the edges. You are standing on Roanoke Island. It is late. The kind of late where the whole world has gone quiet, and the only sound is the water moving through the marsh grass at the edge of the sound. The grass bends and straightens, bends and straightens, like it is breathing. The sky above you is enormous. Out here, away from the cities and the highways and the glow of gas stations, the stars come down close. They press against the dark like a million small fires that nobody lit and nobody can put out. The Milky Way runs across the middle of it all, pale and wide, like smoke from something that burned a very long time ago. The air smells like salt and mud and something green. Pine trees stand at the edge of the clearing, their shapes black against the sky. The ground beneath your feet is soft. It gives a little when you shift your weight. This island holds water. It always has. It soaks things in and keeps them. Somewhere out in the dark, a great blue heron calls once. Then nothing. This is the place, right here. 400 years ago, 115 people stood on this same ground and looked at this same sky. They heard the same water. They smelled the same salt air. They were cold or warm or tired. real. And then they were gone. The archaeologists know this feeling. The ones who have spent their careers digging into this island and the land around it. They come out here too. They stand in the dark sometimes. They think about what is under their feet, because there is something under the feet. That much is certain now. In recent years, teams from the First Colony Foundation have been working a site on the mainland, a place called Site X, near the Albemarle Sound. They found things there, pieces of a type of English pottery that dates to the late 1500s, a small copper object, fragments that match the kind of goods the colonists would have carried. The soil gave them up slowly, the way old soil does, reluctant and careful. The dig at Hatteras Island, the old home of the Croatoan people, turned up similar finds. European objects mixed into layers of native soil. A signet ring, a piece of a gun, small things. But small things tell big stories when you know how to read them. The trouble is that every answer the dirt gives back raises 2 more questions. The pottery could mean the colonists settled at Site X, or it could mean the colonists traded those objects with native people who carried them inland. The ring could belong to a colonist, or it could have been a gift, or it could have arrived by a dozen other paths that history forgot to record. The mud does not explain itself. It just holds what it holds. And so the archaeologists keep digging. Season after season, they sift the dark earth through wire screens. They photograph every layer before they touch it. They are patient in a way that most people cannot manage. They are looking for something that may not survive. Wood rots, cloth dissolves, bone in this wet, acidic soil does not last long. The island is not kind to the things it swallows. What they are really looking for is a pattern. Not one object, but many objects in the same place, together, telling the same story. A concentration of English material mixed with Croatoan material in a way that says these people lived here, side by side, for years. They have not found that yet. Not completely. Not in a way that closes the door. But they are close enough to keep going. And that is its own kind of answer. Out here in the dark, standing on this soft ground, you can feel the weight of that. 400 years of people asking the same question. Sailors and scholars and storytellers and scientists, all of them leaning toward this island, all of them listening. The island gives back a little at a time. A shard of pottery, a copper ring, a carved word on a post that has long since turned to dust. The water moves through the marsh grass. The heron is quiet now. The stars burn on, steady and indifferent, the way they burned when 115 people looked up at them and decided what to do next. Whatever they decided it here, under this same sky, on this same soft ground. You are standing in the middle of the mystery, and the mystery is still open. Some stories get told once and fade. They get passed down a generation or two, and then the people who cared about them are gone, and the story goes quiet. Roanoke never did that. 400 years have come and gone, and this story is still here, still warm, still asking the same question it asked on that September morning in 1590, when John White stood in the empty fort and heard nothing but wind. That kind of staying power doesn't happen by accident. Part of it is the place itself. Roanoke Island sits between the North Carolina mainland and the long, thin strip of the Outer Banks, and the land there has a particular quality to it. The light comes in low and golden off the water. The marsh grass bends in slow waves like something breathing. The live oaks grow wide and twisted, their branches reaching out low over the ground, draped in Spanish moss that hangs like gray curtain. It is a beautiful place. It is also a place that feels like it is keeping something from you. The people who grew up there know that feeling. They grew up with this story, the way other kids grow up with fairy tales. It was in their school lessons and their family conversations, and the names of streets and shops all around them. The mystery was just part of the air, and then someone decided to put it on a stage. In 1937, a playwright named Paul Green wrote a drama called The Lost Colony. It was performed outdoors on Roanoke Island, right there on the ground where the colonists had lived. The audience sat under the open sky. Actors moved through torchlight. The sound of the water was right there behind everything. It was the first outdoor drama of its kind in the country, and it ran every summer for decades. it still runs today. Generations of people have sat in those wooden seats and watched Virginia dare get born, and watched John White sail away, and watched the colonists disappear into the dark at the end of the second act. There is something powerful about watching a mystery performed in the place where it happened. The stage is not just a stage. The trees behind it are real trees. The night air is the same night air. People cry at this show who didn't expect to cry. The drama made the story feel personal to people who had no family connection to Roanoke at all. It gave the colonists faces and voices. It made them human. And once a story makes you feel something, it becomes yours. That is how a local mystery becomes a national one. The town of Manteo on Roanoke Island grew up around the story. The Fort Raleigh National Historic Site sits on the north end of the island, a quiet place of mown grass and reconstructed earthworks and old trees. Visitors walk the same ground. They stand where the fort stood. They read the names of the colonists on markers and feel the strange weight of knowing those names and not knowing what happened to the people who carried them. The Elizabethan gardens are there too, planted in the 1950s as a living memorial. Brick paths wind between roses and fig trees and old stone statues. There is a statue of Virginia Dare near the entrance, carved in white marble, a young woman looking out with calm eyes. People leave flowers at her feet sometimes. She has become something close to a patron saint of the place. What the story gave this region is harder to name than a festival or a garden. It gave the people here a particular way of seeing themselves. They live on the edge of something unresolved. They are the keepers of a question that the whole country has never been able to answer. That is a strange kind of pride, but it is real. Other American towns have founding stories. They have dates and names and plaques that say, here is where it began. Manteo has something different. Manteo has a mystery at its center, and the mystery is the foundation. The not knowing is the thing that holds it together. There is also this. The story of Roanoke is the story of the first English people who tried to make a life in America and vanished before anyone could write down what happened to them. They are the beginning of something. every person who came after them, every town built after them, every generation that grew up speaking English on this continent, they all came after those 115 people stepped into the unknown. The story refuses to die because we are still living inside it. We are still the country that started with a disappearance and never fully explained it. There is a kind of story that refuses to stay in one place. You can carry it with you the way you carry a stone in your pocket. It goes wherever you go. It changes shape a little, picks up the color of wherever you land, but the weight of it stays the same. The story of Roanoke is that kind of story. It did not stay on that island. It walked inland. It crossed mountains. It rode west on wagons and south on river barges. And somewhere along the way, it became part of the blood of the people who carried it. Consider a woman named Mary Eliza Bullard. She was born in the North Carolina Piedmont sometime in the 1840s, the granddaughter of a man who claimed Lumbee blood and English blood both. Her family had been telling the same story for as long as anyone could remember. They said their people had come from the coast. They said their people had been two peoples once, and then they became one. Mary Eliza grew up hearing that story at the kitchen table, in the same breath as prayers and recipes and warnings about the weather. When she was young, she moved west. Her husband had land in Tennessee, up in the hill country where the ridgelines run like the spines of sleeping animals, and the fog sits in the hollows until noon. She brought her children there. She brought her cast iron pans and her Bible and her grandmother's ring, which was old and plain, and had letters scratched inside the band that nobody could quite read anymore. And she brought the story. She told it the way her grandmother had told it. She said that once, a long time ago, English people came to a shore they did not know. She said the land was strange to them and the winters were hard. She said the people who already lived there took them in. She said the two groups became one group, and that was where her family came from. She said it plainly, without drama, the way you state a fact about the color of the sky. Her neighbors in Tennessee had never heard of Roanoke. They had no reason to think about a barrier island 3 states east, but they listened. And and some of them started to wonder about their own families, their own old stories. The grandmother who had high cheekbones and dark eyes and never talked about where she was from. This is how a legend travels, not in books, in mouths, in the quiet spaces between one generation and the next. Mary Eliza's granddaughter eventually moved to Ohio, to one of those gray industrial cities where the river smells like iron and the winters come early and stay late. She worked in a textile mill. She raised 4 children in a narrow house on a street of narrow houses. She was a practical woman. She did not have much patience for fancy talk, but she kept the story. She told her children that they came from somewhere old and strange. She told them their blood was mixed in a way that most people's wasn't. She told them about the island, about the word carved in the tree, about the people who disappeared, and maybe didn't disappear at all. Her youngest son grew up and became a school teacher. He taught history in a small Ohio town for 30 years. Every year, when his class reached the colonial period, he would stop on Roanoke. He would tell the story slowly. He would let the silence sit after the word Croatoan. He would watch the children's faces go still and open, the way faces do when something lands in a place that was already waiting for it. He never told his students that the story was personal. He never said that he believed his own family had come from those missing people. That felt like too much to claim. But he kept the story alive in that classroom, year after year, in a town that had no coastline and no connection to the Carolina Sounds. He kept it alive because it had been kept alive for him. That is the thing about the ghost colony. It never quite left. It scattered. It moved inland and upland, and into cities, and into classrooms, and into the quiet conversations people have with their children at night. It became part of the way Americans understand themselves. This idea that something can vanish completely and still leave a mark, that people can be absorbed into another world and still persist in it, changed but not gone. The colonists may have walked into the forest and never come back out, but the story they left behind has been walking ever since. Virginia Dare was born on August 18, 1587. She was the first English child born in the Americas. Her grandfather, John White, wrote her name down in his journal with the kind of care a man uses when he knows he is recording something that matters. Then he sailed away, and she was never seen again. That is all we know for certain. Everything else is story. But here is the thing about stories. When a real person disappears before they can write their own, other people write it for them. They fill the silence with whatever they need, whatever they fear, whatever they hope. Virginia Dare became a blank page, and for 400 years, Americans have been writing on her. The earliest versions were simple. She was a lost child, a tragedy, a symbol of England's failed promise in the New World. Poets in the 1800s wrote long, mournful verses about her. They imagined her dying young, cold, alone in the forest, a pale little ghost among the dark trees. Those poems said more about Victorian grief than they did about Roanoke. But they stuck. The image of the small, fair-haired English girl, swallowed by the wilderness, became something people couldn't let go of. Then the stories got stranger. Some people said she didn't die young. They said she grew up. They said she lived among the Croatoan people, learned their language, learned their ways, and became something neither fully English nor fully native. A child of two worlds, walking the line between them. There is no proof of this, but there is no proof against it either. And the Lumbee people, who have carried pieces of this story in their own family histories for centuries, have always spoken of her as someone real, someone who mattered, not a ghost, a person who survived. The Dare stones added another layer. Those carved rocks that surfaced in the 1930s, most of them almost certainly fake, told a story of Virginia growing up, marrying a native man, having children, and eventually dying of a fever somewhere in the Carolina interior. The stones were probably a hoax, but the story they told was not impossible. It was, in fact, the most human version of all. A girl grows up. She builds a life. She dies, as everyone does, surrounded by people who loved her. What makes Virginia Dare different from every other person who vanished at Roanoke is this: she was a baby. She had no history yet. She had no choices yet. She was pure possibility. And so she became whatever the age needed her to be. In the late 1800s, when America was arguing fiercely about race and belonging, some writers turned her into a symbol of white American identity, pure English blood on pure American soil. It was an ugly use of a child's name, and it said everything about the people doing the using. Virginia Dare never asked to be anyone's symbol. She was 9 months old when her grandfather last saw her. Other writers pushed back. They imagined her as a bridge, a child who proved that survival in this land required learning from the people already here, that the English colonists who lived did so because they stopped being only English. Virginia Dare, in this version, is not a tragedy. She is a beginning. Neither version can be proven. That is the point. What we are really asking when we ask what happened to Virginia Dare is something older and harder. We are asking what it means to belong to a place. We are asking whether identity is something you carry from birth or something you build where you land. We are asking what gets lost when two worlds collide and what sometimes gets made. She would be in her late 30s when the Jamestown settlers arrived in 1607. If she lived that long, if she survived the winters and the illnesses, and whatever violence or peace the years between held, she might have heard about those new English ships. She might have looked toward the coast and felt something she couldn't name, a pull toward a world she never knew she came from. Or she might not have thought about England at all. She might have just been a woman somewhere in the Carolina woods or on the sandy shores of Hatteras, watching the light change on the water, living her life, knowing her name or not knowing it, remembering nothing of the crossing because she was too small when it happened. The island swallowed her story whole. And what grew back in its place was something wilder and stranger and more American than anything John White ever planned. She is still out there, in a way, in the question itself. So here you are, at the end of it. The fire has burned down low. The logs are just orange coals now, breathing softly in the dark. The night has settled in around you like a heavy blanket, warm and close and still. And somewhere out there, past the trees and the highway and the long flat miles of Carolina coast, there is an island sitting in the dark water. Quiet, patient, keeping what it knows. Roanoke Island has not changed its answer in 400 years. People have come with shovels and maps and machines that see through soil. They have sifted dirt through wire screens. They have pulled old coins and copper and ceramic fragments from the ground and held them up to the light. They have read letters written by dead men. They have listened to the stories that grandmothers passed to daughters, passed to granddaughters over the course of centuries. And still the island sits there in the sound, low and green, and surrounded by gray water, saying nothing. That is not a failure. That is just how some stories work. The colonists were real. 115 of them, with names and faces, and children and fears and hopes. They crossed an ocean to stand on ground that was strange to them. They built something small and fragile in the middle of a world they did not understand. And then they made a choice, or a choice was made for them, and they walked away from the only thing that connected them to the life they had known before. They left one word behind, carved clean into wood. Croatoan. Maybe that word was a farewell. Maybe it was a direction. Maybe it was a name they had come to love, the name of people who had fed them and taught them and welcomed them when no one else would. Maybe it meant something even simpler. We are safe. We are together. We are going somewhere we belong. The Lumbee have been saying for generations that some of those colonists became family. The Hatteras people told the same kind of story. The ground at Site X gave up English things buried in Carolina soil. A map held a secret under a paper patch for 400 years before anyone thought to look. These are not nothing. These are threads, thin and old and worn, but real. And then there is the other side of it. The Powhatan stories that speak of violence. The silence that lasted too long. The possibility that not everyone made it. That the world the colonists walked into was harder and more dangerous than any carved word could explain. History is rarely one clean thing. It is usually several things at once, tangled together, and the truth lives somewhere in the middle where the light does not quite reach. What we know for certain is this: they came, they stayed, they vanished. And the place where they vanished is still there, still green, still surrounded by water that catches the light in the morning and turns silver at dusk. People still walk that ground. They still look down at the soil and wonder what is underneath. Children still learn the name Virginia Dare in school and feel something stir in them, some old curiosity that does not have a name. The story keeps moving because stories like this do not stop. They pass from mouth to mouth, from book to screen, to a quiet voice in the dark, and they carry something with them. A question, an opening, a door that was never closed. The island does not mind the questions. It has heard them all before. Tonight, somewhere on the Outer Banks, the wind is moving through the tall grass on the shore. The water is dark and flat, and it reflects the stars the way still water does, like a second sky laid down on the earth. The trees stand at the edge of the island, old and patient, their roots deep in soil that holds 4 centuries of secrets. There are no lights out there, no voices, just the sound of water moving against the land, the way it has always moved, the way it was moving when 115 people stood on that shore and made their choice. The island keeps its secret, and maybe that is enough. Maybe some mysteries are not meant to be solved. Maybe they are meant to be carried, passed on, kept alive in the telling, the way a coal stays warm long after the fire has gone out. You can rest now. The story is told. Subscribe for a brand new mystery every night. One tap, and a new story is waiting for you tomorrow. Sleep well.